Hi, I'm back with 25 books of 2025. I recorded this in March 2025 in Great Yarmouth. And first of all, I seen a TV show. I really enjoyed it. So I thought I'd read the book. Now, also, I've actually met Adam Kay. He's a top guy, by the way. He was really nice, he's written a book about a genius child doctor he was signing copies of, which is very pleasant, very affable. No, I can't fault the guy whatsoever. However, one thing I will give this book was set of his life as a junior doctor in 2004. So interesting to see what the NHS was like 20 years ago and how worse it's got until now. Okay, so It's Just Going to Hurt, Tigger Dies of a Junior Doctor by Adam Kay. He was, by the way, a really nice guy. Here we are. 97-hour weeks, life and death decisions, a constant tsunami of bodily fluids, and the hospital parking meter earns more than you. Welcome to the life of a junior doctor. Scribbled in secret after endless days, sleepless nights, and missed weekends, Adam Kay's diaries provide a no-half-barred account of his time on the NHS frontline. Hilarious, horrifying, and heartbreaking. This is everything you wanted to know, or more than a few things you didn't about life on and off the hospital ward. Right, so this book does not even hold back on how goddamn um desperate the NHS really is. Now, I'm grateful to the NHS for myself because for those who follow my videos, the first video I ever put on YouTube was me learning to walk again because I several years ago had an accident which crushed my right foot. It's now held together with pins and pins and screws. And so if you ever see me ever walking, I've actually got a permanent limp, but I've learned to live with that. So the NHS got me walking again, and I know, okay, if it was the America, it would have bankrupted me, incidentally. I had 10 days in hospital, 2 surgeries, a year of physio, and left with a permanent limp. So, but anyway, anyways, okay, I've got to be grateful to the NHS, okay. However, the NHS as an organisation is on its goddamn knees, and it's also got a lot worse since then. A lot worse. Like this bit here, where Adam talks about his life. This is even in chapter 1. Every doctor makes their career choice age 16, 2 years before they're legal able to take a photo of their own genitals. When you sit down and pick your A levels, you're set up for a trajectory that continues until you either retire or die. And unlike your work Christmas party, Janet from procurement won't swap your chicken with her loamy skewers. You're stuck with it. Right. It's like the age of 16, you're like choosing to become a doctor, choosing which field. Okay? Choosing which field. And the fact is, junior doctor, Adam's work-life balance is absolutely non-existent. Absolutely. Here we are. And this bit here, this is when, okay, Monday the 31st of Jan 2005. A strange realization is the first time I've actually saved a life in 5 months as a doctor. I'm on the outside imagines we roamed the wards performing a routine acts of heroism. I assumed that myself when I started. The truth is, the dozens, maybe hundreds of lives are saved each day on hospital wards. Almost every time it happens, it's a much low-key based, say, team-based way. The doctor performing a single action, as much implementing a sensible plan, which is carried out by a number of colleagues who at every stage that the patient is getting better and modify the plan if they're not. Right. This is when, okay, he saves a life from the ward. You know, but the fact is, okay, he hasn't, well, you hope, okay, but the fact is, okay, his life as a doctor, when Adam was deciding to become a doctor and what field to go into, he's living a life he never ever imagined. I think to Adam, when he was 16 deciding on his career to become a doctor, he thought it would be a bit more than what it is now. And it's not. This is absolutely horrific. What it is like to even have a work-life balance as a doctor. It is absolutely ridiculous. And I'm a shift worker and I could not believe this. When I read this, okay, this bit here. This is July 2005, which is his mate Ron Stag do, which you can't go to it because this, even reading this as a shift worker, gave me a goddamn headache. I was originally due to be working, but arranged a four-way swap. A doing my shift, B doing A shift, C doing B shift, and me doing C shift. And now C, who I've barely met before, has real imaginary childcare issues for one of her real imaginary children. So here I am on the ward instead of absorbing or off my tits on tequila. Seriously, that is the reality of being a doctor today, trying to have a work-life balance. You can't have a work-life balance. You're always on call, or it's like waiting to come in or getting the beep. It's ridiculous. And for those who watch the TV show, the the TV show is basically highlights from the book, okay, and little things are kind of intermixed, but also shows what it's like being on the front line of the NHS. And it's just ridiculous. What these doctors go through is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And it's just like little things, okay, about when he goes to obstet obstetrics, okay, he goes into basically working on the labour ward, right? That's his chosen field of specialty, which is quite literally you are. Hey, watching a child being born is a miracle in itself. I mean, it must be a wonderful experience, but the science that goes behind it cannot be easy. And this book does not hold back on what these nurses and doctors have to deal with. It's ridiculous. But how some bits are okay are generally funny. The hospital tells me he checked before he left home and she was 6 centimeters. Most dads don't peek under the hood, so I asked him if he's a medic. No, he tells me he's a plasterer. But I know what a centimeter is, mate. I examine the patient and agree with his findings, make him more competent than most of my colleagues. You can kind of see Adam at this juncture in his life. First of all, Adam Kay, this is Adam Kay of 20 years ago. First of all, there's an element for Adam Kay of 20 years ago. It's he's kind of quite dismissive about his colleagues as well. There's a lot of sarcasm. Hey, we're Brits, okay, we excel in that. Sarcasm running through this. Now, Adam as a junior doctor, now he kind of had this kind of element of kind of grandeur as well. In a way, he thinks he's kind of also above them. There's various little points in this, okay, where he's talking about how it's impossible for him and his partners, okay, who are always all given initials, incidentally, okay, to protect their privacy, and to how hard it is on a junior doctor's salary, okay, to actually afford a rent. And like, yeah, well, in comparison, okay, to like the porters or the nurses, even okay, you're paid a pittance at this juncture in your career, you're getting way more than them. But the thing is with Adam, at this point in his life, he is all about him. In a way, he whinges about being on the labour ward. He can't help it, and how hard it is, and how hard it is being a junior doctor where life and death is on the line involving babies. But there's an element also, okay, of arrogance too. A lot of his arrogance, and obviously further along the line, you see at the start of the book his arrogance, but that's kind of kicked out of him as he gets further along and more jaded at this point of his career, right? Because it gets absolute worse for him, okay? And a little bit here, okay, shows how badly hospitals actually treat the medics. This even like, and now I know this, okay, from experience, okay, but in order to encourage use of public transport, there's no staff car park at the hospital. Right. An animal sentiment that would allow me even a 2 hour, 20-minute commute each way. They've opted for a 70-minute drive, leaving my wheels in a visitor's car park. The pricing system must have been dreamt up by someone who realised the chance of winning the lottery more than once was pretty skeletal. Although there must be another way to raise a similar annual revenue. It's £3 per hour, no discount for long stays, and applicable every hour of the day and every night. Except for Christmas, which presumably they decided would be greedy. The exception is a woman in labour who would get a parking voucher valid for 3 days, was signed by Labour Ward supervisor. Isn't it ridiculous? Isn't it? And that has not changed. Hospital car parking is absolutely ridiculous, and it's wrong. It's absolutely wrong. Now, I used to work in a hospital. Funny enough, I was a cleaner. I was a cleaner during my university years. I did it all. Maternity to mortuary. It was at the Royal Hampshire County Hospital in Winchester. It was right next to my uni, so it was ideal. It's right next to my uni digs and right next to the uni. So I used to sometimes, okay, wake up, do a shift, and then go into a lecture, or vice versa. Right. Once, oh, actually, I'm going to tell this story, okay? Years ago. Now, my plan was, because I had some time to kill, like a good hour, was to basically work, go back and get changed, and then go off to uni for a lecture in the afternoon. Right. It didn't happen that way. Now, there is a chemical we use for the clinic called Sanaclor. It was in big yellow pots, okay, and it is potent. Literally, my fabric wristwatch melted when it got splashed on there. You had to dilute it to clean. Now, the Royal Hampshire County Hospital is one of the cleanest hospitals in the entire country when they published the MRSA levels, because our contract were, if your job wasn't up to spec, you were just fired. The pay was actually pretty good as well, actually, for a student. So that was my university job. So one day I was like just arranging the cleaning cupboard, and the Sunny Claw ripped open, and went all over me. Luckily, missed my face, okay, but got all over my uniform, my work uniform. Luckily, a nurse was walking past, saw it happening, grabbed me, dragged me into the shower, stripped me off, okay, and made me wash my entire body clean, okay? And then, because I didn't have time to go back, they actually found me, because I still had to actually finish the job, by the way. I couldn't just skip that. They found me a pair of hospital scrubs. So I did finish my cleaning job wearing a pair of hospital scrubs. Right. So the thing is, I didn't have time to go back and change before my lecture, so I went to uni wearing a pair of hospital scrubs. Right. So I walked into a lecture wearing hospital scrubs. Yeah, good times. Absolutely good times. And by the way, can I say, those are bloody comfortable. Those are absolutely comfortable. And I had to put an instant thing, okay, for the Sunny Claw. So, yep. So anyway, I've worked in hospitals, okay, and I think that's absolutely ridiculous. I've seen it for myself. So, good job actually. That was a really, really good job. So, hey, I'd work anywhere. Maternity and mortuary, psychiatry. They actually like me, okay, because I work anywhere with absolutely no complaints. Because that was it. And one thing I liked is I never knew which ward I was working on. Sometimes, okay, I used to work the wards in the evenings after they were closed, like the office wards or the X-ray section, and I cleaning that. So, but the thing is, right, when it comes to Adam talking to Kay about his salary, having a little whinge, and he actually acknowledges that he's whinging to Kay about his salary. Here we are. I realise everyone moans about their salary and thinks they deserve more, but I'm happy to look back on my time as an SHO with a bit of objectivity and declare I was profoundly underpaid. The money is utterly out of step with the level of responsibility you have. Literally laughing at decisions, plus as like you've been to medical school for 6 years, worked as a doctor for 3, decided to acquire postgraduate qualifications. If you think it's appropriate, then you take home less money per week than a train driver. There's still the fact that the working weeks can evolve over time, say over 100 hours of unlimited slog, meaning the parking meters outside the hospital on a better hourly rate. Right. So, but the thing is, if doctors complain again about their salary, someone will always say, well, you get paid more than the porters or the cleaners or that kind of thing. Absolutely that kind of thing. Actually, though, when I worked as a cleaner, due to my contract, I got paid a good salary. A friend of mine actually went from being a cleaner to actually working on the wards. I don't think it paid more than her. Okay. So, this bit here, when he's talking to Kate about the difficulty him and H, his partner, have with juggling the realities of working on the wards and his life. And this bit here. Next week, me and H, this is in 2008, so he's been doing this job now, okay, for just almost 4 years. The bodybuilder of being in a bubble, it only takes one prick to burst it. It comes in the form of an email from medical staff and lets me know I now need to work the middle weekend. None of my colleagues can swap with me, and I don't know how to deliver babies over Skype. Right. So I go back to medical staff to explain my predicament. I have the kind of sinking feeling you have going to the headmaster's office to deny you stole liquors from the tuck shop with tea stained carbon black. Right. Here you go. That's the thing. Like, you couldn't go on a holiday, okay, with his partner to celebrate 5 years together. Right. Because, he suddenly had to work. Where's the fairness in that? Absolutely not. I mean, I could see just reading this book how Adam got so much more jaded as time went on. And you can see it, and it is heartbreaking. How do you have a work-life balance when that happens? Absolutely. Because no one actually cares. And the thing is, okay, it's once again Adam's sarcasm and his arrogance also come into play though. Is when okay he gets a letter, a little note from a patient, a previous thing, right? Dear Adam, I want to say thank you. You did a fantastic job. My GP checked my stitches and said you could hardly tell I had a baby, let alone a third-degree tear. I'm extremely grateful to you. Thank you again. Everything about the job is so thoughtful, the kind of thing that makes the job totally worthwhile. She even made it herself, beauty textured white card adorned with her baby's footprint and gold paint on the front. Then again, I guess she didn't have much choice. There can't be much call and paper chase for thanks for mending my bum cards. You see what I mean? Someone sent that to Adam with sincerity. Thank you so much for taking good care of me. However, Adam's arrogance is, well, I guess there's not much call, okay, for that kind of thing. Adam's sarcasm, Adam's arrogance as well. So that's the thing. Hey, I've met Adam. He's a lovely bloke. If you see, is this Adam? Do you remember meeting me at Waterstones? Okay, like John Lewis. Hi, Joe. Um, his arrogance also comes into play. He's kind of grand. You're like, oh, that's nice. You know, little footprint of the baby. You made it yourself. Of course, you made it yourself. Got a footprint of a baby. Here you go. But the thing is, as it gets further along, Adam's jadedness, Adam's mental health issues. Now you can kind of see him being thoroughly depressed with the job, which is also quite heartbreaking too. This bit here. On a Saturday night, I felt the anxiety and guilt mounted on an already stressful working life, the offence of being accused of being terrible at my job, the fear that maybe I was terrible at my job. I always tried my absolute hardest for every patient I saw, and it was like a dagger from my heart, but don't you suggest otherwise. This is when a kid's getting a note saying he's basically being sued. Right. Yep. Here you go. One of them no win, no win things. It feels like no matter what he does, he can't win. You know, he tries his best. And the thing is, Adam is arrogant, but also on the level, Adam is also falling apart. It's like his arrogance is a front for how desperate he truly, truly feels. Right. Well, the NHS totally on its knees. And also is also how he approaches the women in labour as well. There's an element of now naturally, okay, you're going through one of the most, okay, this is birth. Something the size of a melon, squeeze out something the size of a lemon. That's birth, okay? And it's messy and it's bloody and seriously, one may be born every minute, but doesn't make every single doesn't make that easier. It's also his sarcastic attitude towards the women in labour. Now you can see that as like a detachment, if you will, trying not to get too involved. But at the same time, okay, it says little things, okay, about he actually has favourite patients as well. But the thing is, those favourite patients are the ones in incubators. Like this child has been in an incubator for like several weeks, has become one of Adam's favourite patients, okay, because he sees this baby every day. But from the point of view of the parents sitting there with their child in an incubator, they go through the worst moments of their lives. He is arrogant, and in a way, he kind of acknowledges his arrogance too. He doesn't kind of shy away from that. He doesn't even pretend to be something that he's not. Right. Here you go. Right. And also, he does not hold back on the issues with things like technology. Right. Here you go. Like this bit here even gave me a headache. Right. Today, technology is serving up conspiracy theories that patient asked for proof are not being bribed by drug companies. I point out that antibiotics I want to put them on cost a matter of pennies, and that drug companies would rather be furious, probably be furious with me for not choosing something more expensive. He doesn't waver. I point out that the antibiotics I prescribed are generic, okay, rather than a pushing one's company product. Still unmoved, I point out that I drive a 5-year-old Peugeot 206 and probably as far as anyone's pocket as is possible. Fine, she agrees, and agrees for antibiotics. Little things, okay, like people, okay, who are against vaccinations, people, okay, who, and this was featured in the a TV show, actually want to eat the placenta and want to actually eat in the blood clots. That's actually in this book too. And also how god awful, right, the racism is towards the nurses and doctors on the ward, right. That's one thing that also doesn't hold back. And this once again was featured in the TV show where a mother to be was very, very racist towards the nurses. Right, here we are. Right. On reviewing the patient, I agree that a C-section it is. I transferred to theatre and decided to stay tight-lipped about the fact I'm Jewish. The operation is straightforward and the little boy is delivered safely, presumably to be immediately dressed up in baby's first KKK hood and given a rattle the shape of a burning cross. Right. But if the patient had a dolphin tattoo on her right groin, it wouldn't be so bad if my skin incision was slightly wider than usual and no choice but to decapitate the dolphin. Right. I could say if pushed by an official inquiry. They've been worried the baby was larger than average and it made sense to have a good sized operative field. And closing the skin, would it be so bad if the wound didn't appropriate really well for some strange, almost certain and provable reason, leaving the dolphin's head position a good inch to the left of its body? Now that in the TV show gives Adam in a lot of trouble, by the way. However, in this, it's actually not a mention. But the fact is that racism towards um, individuals who work for the NHS is absolutely deplorable. Okay, so they've worked hard in their careers, so to actually work for the NHS, and yet they get treated like that, and it's widespread. From the Windrush generation onwards, the individuals who came over to work for the NHS, and hey, it's just deplorable. So, having to deliver a racist baby, having to deliver someone's baby whilst they're being racist towards you, and you've got to basically pull up and shut up, and just take it. Absolutely. At least in that moment. I mean, you can't really say, okay, to someone again who's about to crown, please don't be racist towards me whilst I'm delivering your child. And once again, Adam's arrogance has also come into play here. Like this bit here, he has a habit of doing this. Okay? Right. A patient named their baby after me today. It was a planned cesarean for breech presentation, and after I delivered the baby, I said Adam's a good name. The parents agreed, and the job's a good one. I say Adam's a good name after every single baby I deliver, and this was the first time anyone's ever said yes. I never had a middle name before, but today this wrong was righted, and a squad of Adams, so Richie Deserve, was launched in Phase 2. I'm not sure what I do with this team once they assemble. If I cry, maybe get them to cover my shifts. Okay. I mean, the fact is, okay, he says after every single delivery, and he's done, this is done in 2010. He's been doing it now for several years. Every single delivery, okay, Adam's a good name. Oh, I'm presuming, okay, towards boys. I mean, Adam would be quite a nice name for a girl, funny enough. But hey, your baby, your choice. So, yeah, kind of arrogant, isn't it? Adam's a good name. Please name this baby after me. Okay. That's the thing. I actually know the name of my own midwife. Funny enough, her name's Heidi. Right. Yeah. Oh, my mum wasn't. My mum's a nurse. Retired. So she actually worked on the labour ward too. So she was friends with the woman who brought me into this world. Her name is Heidi. I've met her. She's lovely. No, no, I'm not named after her. That's my great grandfather. So So the fact is, after a terrible, terrible birth where the baby doesn't make it, the mother's got to have a hysterectomy, and it really kind of impacts Adam's mental state. He has to leave. He's done. He's absolutely done. It's put on traumatic moments of his life. It's kind of all his arrogance goes out the window. I realize I can't do it anymore. Interesting too, because this was written over a period of several years, and you get to that point where you can see how jaded Adam is by this system, how jaded the NHS has done to him. I mean, this was like obviously 10 years before COVID, but the NHS at this juncture is on its knees, and he couldn't do it anymore. He was so emotionally traumatized by this. It was like, that's it, I'm done as a doctor. I cannot do this anymore. Not a matter of life or death, it's a matter of his mental health. Now, less than 10 years in the profession, yet what it did to his mental health was so bad, he was done with it. Here we are. And he makes it clear the reason why. Right. A system that's paying us slack to allow for sick leave, let alone something as intangible as coming from an awful day. And in truth, doctors can't acknowledge how devastating these moments really are. If you're going to survive working in this profession, you've got to convince yourself these horrors are just part of your job. You can't pay any attention to the man behind the curtain. Your sanity relies on it. I've seen babies die before. I've dealt with mothers on the brink of death before. But this was different. It was the first time I was the most senior person on the ward. Something terrible happened. When I was a person everyone was relying on to sort it out. It was on me and I had failed. Right, that's the thing. Feels like he's failed. All Adam's kind of arrogance and banter within this book is kind of sarcasm. In a way, okay, it's also his indifference towards the mothers to be. That does come across at times. It's just kind of underlying how desperate he was. It's kind of detached himself. It's kind of cast himself in a more kind of sarcastic light. That kind of acknowledged the fact that every single disaster is taking a toll on his mental health till he can't hack it anymore. Less than 10 years in the profession, and he was burned out. It was killing him. Right. So it's quite interesting too reading this because all his arrogance, and Adam does come across as arrogant, is also a front too. His banter, okay, oh, Adam's a good name, in a way is also a front. This is a book about how the NHS basically emotionally destroyed him. And even though, okay, he is sarcastic and indifferent and arrogant, it's sad because he's not the only one out there. There are so many fantastic doctors and nurses who are being pushed out of the profession they love and helping the people that they love due to the fact the National Health Service is on its goddamn knees. And the system has to change. And to be honest, that's the thing. The system has to change, and they've got to be more considerate towards them. Right? It's so easy, Kay, to say doctors are playing God. Well, they're not. Funny enough, they're people too, and it's really kind of underpins it. Anyway, I'm signing off here. 20 books to 2025. Sign off. This is Gonna Hurt by Adam Kay, and bye now.